Hi, sorry about the setup. I know it's kind of awkward. So, given the current situation, I thought it would be interesting to look into the various video chat platforms and their features and the differences in how people interact on them. So, I will be talking about FaceTime, Zoom, WebEx, and Blackboard Collaborate. So, to summarize what I covered in my short presentation, I talked about frames, publics, and code switching, and I will once again touch upon these subjects, but I will also expand into in-scripts and the chat functions. So with my interview from last time, my friend and I ranked the different platforms from most to least formal. So the most formal was Blackboard Collaborate, and then WebEx, and then Zoom, and then FaceTime being the least formal. So I then went into talking about frames, and I used the speaking acronym to break down the differences between FaceTime and Blackboard Collaborate, seeing as how they're the most different. FaceTime is the biggest difference is the audience, because FaceTime is usually for friends and family, and Blackboard Collaborate is usually for classes and professors and stuff. So the biggest difference between all the platforms is audience, because that changes how you're going to speak on the platform to the people that you're talking to. So my interviewee talked about how she herself feels herself speaking differently on Blackboard Collaborate than in class, because she can't see people's reactions to what she's saying. She found that her and other people second guess themselves more by saying, I don't even know I could be wrong, and then professors saying, I don't even know if I'm getting through to you guys because people's cameras are off and microphones are off, so that's per the etiquette of class usually. And then I went into talking about publics and the differences in publics on the platforms. So FaceTime is typically one-on-one and family, and Zoom is typically groups, whether large or small. And then WebEx can be one-on-one or large groups, and Blackboard Collaborate is typically large groups for class. I also wanted to reiterate on code switching. The biggest code switch my interviewee found is that from going from a whole big class to breakout groups on Blackboard Collaborate, because it goes from a much more formal context to a much more casual context with the change in frame. So I wanted to expand on this topic by going into the chat function on the different platforms and therefore in-scripts. So I interviewed one of my friends who uses the chat function quite often in a lot of her meetings and classes and stuff like that. So the chat function has a few different uses on the different platforms. Like, for example, on Zoom, sometimes people use Zoom to watch movies together. So in that case, the chat function is used to just talk normally instead of unmuting yourself and talking over the movie. On WebEx, the chat function is used a lot for sending links in discussion to what's happening during the video chat. So, for example, I use WebEx for my sailing team meetings, and my coach and other teammates send links to races we should watch or articles on wind direction just to keep us fresh. WebEx is also used for a lot of seminars and stuff, and so sometimes the person giving the seminar will put links to articles and stuff in there too. On Blackboard Collaborate, the chat function at least for my interviewee, is more for participation. So instead of turning on her microphone and waiting for a break to answer a question or raise her hand and wait for the professor to lower her hand, she can just type something out in the chat really quick and the professor or somebody will answer her. And she says that she participates a lot more in class because of this function. It's much quicker and just takes less time than waiting. So the chat function is really interesting because there are so many things going on at once. There's the video part where someone is either talking or there's something playing in the background, and then the live chat that usually capitalizes on what's being said in the video chat. And it's just like the two occurring discourses adds a lot to the context of what's happening. I also wanted to talk about contextualization of both InScripts and the video chat function. So I'm sure we've all seen the videos of people doing things on Zoom and other class platforms without knowing that their camera was on. And sharing these videos out of context really widens the public from just the class who experienced it firsthand to the greater internet that is experiencing it secondhand. And then I've also observed from my interviewee's Snapchat story, she has this, she tends to take videos of the chat function in Blackboard Collaborate of this friendly competition that she has with one of the girls in her classes. Their competition is to see who can answer the professor's questions first. And so every time the other girl answers first, my friend takes a video and posts it, taking the original chat out of the context and giving it new meaning by capitalizing on the competition between the two girls. So I wanted to expand a little bit on Publix with the chat function. When the professor records the lecture that they're giving, the chat function is also recorded, so people can go back and look at the chats, and the chats are always there. And so the public opens up for the public widens with both the chat and the video recorded, so anybody can go back and watch. And then a little bit more into cell phones is that these platforms are all available by app, but which can make it less formal because it's on your phone. And then there's also the option to call in to the meetings, so you can actually like take your phone, dial in a number, and just call in, which doesn't access the camera, which can make it a little different because there's like the context of seeing people and seeing the video that's happening or just listening, which is a big difference in how you experience everything. So just to summarize, the video chat platforms are all different uses, but they're all really important to the current situation at hand because they're connecting people and keeping everything in context. Thank you.